welcome to Bull Run Paranormal. My name is Paula. Um, Today's subject is something, it's not paranormal as you would normally think, but it's about psychic abilities and the different types of psychic abilities. Um, Everyone is born with a certain level of psychic ability. And, a lot of people have seen small children like talking to no one. Um, and a lot of times that's because then their psychic channels are open. They haven't been told that they're not supposed to do that, or that it's bad for you to talk to spirits, that spirits are really demons trying to trick you or something like that. So as we get older, we shut that channel off because we're told we're not supposed to be like that. Okay, psychics and mediums. Okay, a psychic can usually tell, have knowledge of things from the past, or things that are going to happen to a future. They can pick up an item and tell you something about the person that owned it, things that were associated with it, etc. They can walk into a space and get feelings about something that has gone on or will go on. But they're not necessarily mediums. Mediums communicate with the spirit world. In other words, they talk to ghosts. And all mediums are psychics, but not all psychics are mediums. Hey, you know? So there are different types of psychic abilities. And we call them the clairs, Clairs. Okay. The first one that most people think about is clairvoyance. Everybody recognizes that word, clairvoyance, and it literally meaning clair, meaning clear, and voyance referring to sight. So it's clear seeing or clear sight. And a lot of times you'll see like a little movie play in your head of what might happen. Or like with me, when spirit communicates with me, if they might show me a little movie of what happened when they died, or a little movie of something that happened while they were alive, that the person that I'm talking to would be able to validate. Okay, like if they had a purple birthday cake or something like that, I'd say, what does a purple birthday cake mean? And then they'd like, oh my God, my last birthday cake had, was lavender with big purple flowers on it, or something like that. So you can also get full-blown premonitions about something that's going to happen. You can also get like symbols, a number, a date, a color. You can say like, what does the state of Wisconsin mean? Or, well, what does, London Tower mean, to you? What significance would that be? Or, what does Notre Dame Cathedral, what's the significance of that, And it's usually something that, a place that you've been with your loved one. It was a special vacation, a honeymoon, something like that. So then the next one is what is called clairsentience. And that's Clairsentience. And that literally means clear feelings. Okay. In other words, empathic ability. Okay, this is all about feelings and emotions and physical sensations. Okay, like somebody committed suicide by hanging themselves. You might feel like you've got something around your neck and that you're being choked. Something like that. Okay? That's clairsentience. Clairaudience is clear hearing. Okay, so that's that little voice, your own voice inside your head that's telling you, like, to stop doing something. Or, if you're at a stoplight, it's that, voice that says, don't pull off when it turns green. And then, a big old dump truck runs a red light coming the other way and would have killed you and everybody in the car because it would have hit you. It would have T-boned you, okay, at an intersection. Now, mediums often hear inside their heads the voice of a departed soul, okay, inside their head, with like names, words, phrases, a song that they used to love, but it's not anything that can be heard out loud, okay? Now, that does not pertain to, I've literally had, not long ago, a ghost scare me half to death because I heard somebody going, hello, a male voice. I could have sworn somebody was downstairs. I was home alone. I was I had my 3, dogs that were all snoring at various levels. And I was on the phone with my better half. And I was like, oh my God, somebody's in the house. There's a man in the house. I hear a voice. I grabbed my pistol and I went downstairs. And yes, I own a gun. We own several guns. Thank you. I live in the South, raised with guns. Better half's law enforcement. I used to be law enforcement. Don't give me a ration about having guns, okay? So I grabbed my gun and went downstairs and started doing a search. I could have sworn, and it was a ghost. Found a ghost standing in my foyer. Wanted to have a chat. Hey, I was not very receptive. So that does not count as clairaudience, because any paranormal investigator knows, you hear EVPs that you can only hear like on your digital recording device or on your video camera, something like that. But there are often times when you hear spirit talk to you and you can hear it. I have had occasion where we've been 2 rooms away and we've heard spirits say something and had an intelligent response to a question that an investigator in that room asked. But we were 2 rooms away and heard the answer out loud. And we were like, oh my gosh. So that's clairaudience, is that voice inside your own head, or a medium being able to hear the voice of someone who has passed in their head, not out loud, okay? Claircognizance, that is clear knowing. It is you knowing something without you having any facts or any logic to you having information, okay? It's your inner knowing, like you shouldn't trust someone. You don't know why, but you know that you should not put your trust in that person. Or somebody at work is bad-mouthing you and getting ready to stab you in the back on something that you've both worked on. Or that they're trying to take they're going to take credit for your work, your hard work. Or something telling you not to get on that airplane. So that's claircognizance. Then there are a couple that are less common. And one is clairalience, clairalience, C-L-A-I-R-A-L-I-E-N-C-E. And that is clear smelling. Okay, and that's smelling things that come to you outside your normal senses, okay? Outside you smelling something that's going on in the environment, such as my mother, when she comes around, I smell one of two things. I either smell White Shoulders perfume or I smell Shalimar. Those were the two perfumes, well, three. Chantilly was the other one. Those were the three perfumes that my mother wore constantly while she was alive. When my dad comes around, I smell, I hear the click of a Zippo lighter and I smell Salem menthol cigarettes. That's how I know my dad's around. My sister Sandy, when she comes around, I smell her favorite perfume, which was by by Oscar de la Renta. I think it was called So de la Renta. That was her favorite perfume. That and Chanel number 5 is the other one. So, it's something like that. Something, a smell. It could be even somebody trying to get across to you, like smelling a house fire. You walking into a room and you smell the smell of blood, of old blood. And then you later find out that somebody, was murdered in a room. Okay? The other one that is not as familiar, not as often, is Claire Gustance, Clairgustance, and that is clear tasting. Okay, it's like tasting chocolate ice cream without putting anything in your mouth. Okay, I have had occasions where I have literally felt like someone punched me in the face, and then it's like I tasted blood inside my mouth. And somebody was telling me that they were beat to death. Something like that. So this is very, very common when mediums, clairaudience and clairgustance are very common when mediums are communicating with spirit. Because I could say, I'm tasting chocolate cake. What does chocolate cake mean to you? Or, Boston cream pie, If I started tasting Boston cream pie, I would know my dad's around. Okay? Something like that. And a lot of people are like, well, how come, I don't receive messages from my loved ones that have passed on. I've sometimes, communicated and got messages from other people, and I have a level of ability, but I can't talk to my loved ones. Well, often our guides won't allow us to communicate with them because we haven't finished the grief process. You have to go through your own lessons dealing with grief and the passing of that person. And especially, it's so hard, like anyone who's lost a child, they always want to know, is my child okay? I don't feel them around me, or, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's often because you're not grieved. It's so hard to grieve a child, and that's your guides and their guides allowing you to grieve. Okay, I did not receive any messages like from my father for a long time, and I actually had to have a psychic kick me in the ass because I was so close to my dad. And I actually worked on my dad. And I say worked on because I was a EMT at one point in my life. And I ended up doing CPR on my dad. And I knew it was hopeless because my dad's pulmonary artery burst and he was hemorrhaging. But you go through the motions. You do what you can do. I knew, I couldn't crack his chest open and fix his heart or anything like that. And you just go through the motions. And I did not realize, because I automatically went from that to taking care of my mother who had Alzheimer's. I was 28 years old and taking care of two terminally ill parents. So I was so then turned on the focus of taking care of my mother, finding someone to be with her during the day, or taking her to like an adult daycare situation where I knew she was safe while I was at work, finding a companion for her, stuff like that. When I couldn't be there, when I had to work. And I was so wrapped up in that, and I was not grieving my dad. And my grief actually kept my dad bound to this plane for a while. And a psychic friend of mine had to kick me in the ass and said, you have got to process your grief, because you are keeping your dad tied to you because you got everything bottled up inside. And your dad, tried to communicate with you, but he's like wrapped in this big bubble wrap, and he can't move on. He can't communicate with you because, you have not grieved and you won't process those feelings. And it was only after that then my dad was able to communicate with me, and he would, started out, he still can only come to me like when I'm in a dream state. And, he warned me about, a wreck. He came to my older sister in a dream when she was in a dream state and said, Sandy, you need to answer the phone. Kim, your daughter needs you. Kimberly needs you. And sure enough, and Sandy was like, but Dad, I don't want to talk to the damn person on the phone. You're here. My God, why are you here? Oh my God, I'm so glad to talk to you. I just wanted to. And he's like, Sandra, pick up the damn phone. And she did, and it was the police department telling her that something had happened to her daughter. And, they come to you, leave you signs. You have to be open and pay attention. Like if you're thinking about them and a butterfly comes from out of nowhere, or you're thinking about them. Like I know my mother has been around. I find feathers on my stove, bird feathers. Why would a feather be on my stove? There's no reason. I have, cages over my vent outside so that birds can't get into, like the vent, the hood system for my stove. They can't get into that vent run. It's capped off with a bird cap. That kind of stuff. So there would be no plausible reason for a bird feather to be on my stove. But that's how I know when my mom's been around. Because my mom, the heart of the home was the kitchen. And my mom was an awesome cook. She was an awesome baker. I mean, she, made the most amazing cakes and cobblers and things like. People would pay my mother for a carrot cake. And, she always baked on Sunday, baked from scratch, and made cake or a cobbler or something like that. So my dad could take it in his lunch, throughout the week. And when she made carrot cake, she would always have to put a couple of slices in his lunch bucket for a couple of the guys that he worked with, because she knew that they loved her carrot cake. So, it's in her blackberry cobbler. Oh my Lord, Mom, I miss you so much, because mine's just not the same. I come close, but I'm not there. So stuff like that. You just have to look for the signs, okay? And it's not that they're not communicating with you. You're not open to it, open yourself up and really pay attention to stuff. And a lot of times then they'll be able to come through. But you have to process your grief to be able to hear those messages from a loved one. Now, a lot of people say, can you develop psychic ability? Absolutely, you can. It takes a lot of practice. You have to learn a lot about, meeting your spirit guides, your masters, progression through the afterlife, everything like that. You also need to learn to control the flow of information. You don't want to be an open, wide channel all the time because you're just asking for trouble. Mediums, psychics, and paranormal investigators are the three top types of people who develop spirit or demonic attachments because they're open to those sort of things. And people a lot of times don't take the proper precautions to protect themselves, okay? I've brought spirits home with me from investigations or from a cemetery, and I've had to take measures to get rid of them once I figured out what was going on. Now, there are things that you can do to protect yourself from a psychic attack. And I call this, like from spirit staying attached to you when you're trying to develop your psychic ability. So, you don't ever want to like take on developing a psychic ability without first taking measures to protect yourself because you're dangerous. And you don't want to try reading for other people because you're not only endangering yourself, you're endangering somebody that you're reading for if you don't take measures to protect yourself and protect them in the process, okay? So one of the ways that I find easiest to protect myself is I automatically have, I have certain charms that have protections. That energy is attached to those charms and protections. I also use crystals a lot, stones. The best ones are amethyst, tiger's eye, hematite, black tourmaline. You all know I love me some black tourmaline. And that's one of the best protective stones, especially from psychic attack and from spirit attachments. Lapis lazuli is another one. Garnet, labradorite, jet for empaths. If you are an empath, in other words, if you pick up on everybody's feelings around you, like if somebody's profoundly sad and you can literally feel their sadness to the point where you want to cry, you're probably an empath, okay? So get some jet jewelry because that will absolutely, but I'm going to make a caveat here. Do not buy Victorian mourning, MOURNING jewelry that was made of jet. Do not do it. And that went through into like the Art Deco era. Okay, don't do it. Unless you know how to properly cleanse energy from something like that. Just don't do it. Buy you something new made of jet. Okay. Then that way, you can consecrate it. You can put that protective, energy into it to protect you from psychic, from empathic, feelings coming to you that you're not ready to process or you don't want to open to. Jet jewelry. Fluorite. And fluorite is also great for black magic and curses and what I call malignant magic. And I'll get into that another episode. Blue kyanite is great. Peridot is great. Sugilite, Sugilite, is one of the best psychic shielding stones that there is. In other words, keeping you safe. And the other one, the last one, is blue chalcedony, and that's Chalcedony. And blue chalcedony is also great for protecting you from a hex, from, hexes. Now, herbs and resins to help protect you from psychic attack. The first one is acacia. Next one is bay, like bay leaves. Another one is frankincense, like frankincense and myrrh. And this is really good. Mugwort, Mugwort. Now, that's not a very common herb that you're going to find on the corner. But you can get it from reputable dealers, like off Amazon. And there are some like Wiccan shops on eBay. But to find something like mugwort, you would have to almost go to like a New Age shop or somewhere like that sells, or even a witch shop that sells loose bulk herbs, okay, where you can buy them like by the ounce or whatever. And mugwort is especially important to keep with you if you are traveling to the astral plane. In the astral plane, that's a whole nother day for that one. Myrrh, Myrrh, like frankincense and myrrh from the Bible. That's another one. Roses are great to protect you from psychic attack. Thyme, out of your kitchen, thyme, wonderful. Willow is great, and it's especially important if you're doing something like with divination, okay, like if you're scrying, if you're reading tarot. I don't recommend anybody, unless you know what you're doing, to use them, but a Ouija board, something like that, okay. And the last one is yarrow, Yarrow. Now, there are also stones for those of you who want to increase your psychic ability. Number one, I'm going to tell you, protect yourself first. Learn how to protect yourself and control the flow before you try to increase, okay? I'm just going to say that. But the first one is azurite, okay? The next one is amethyst. It not only protects you, but it also helps to increase your psychic ability, okay? Clear quartz is another one. Iolite, Iolite, is great. Bloodstone. Bloodstone is really important for you to stay grounded, okay? What I call grounded and centered. In other words, you're not just willy-nilly everywhere. You have a strong connection to this plane, and you're calm and you're grounded and you're centered, okay? Turquoise is really great to develop clairaudience and clairvoyance, okay? One of my favorite stones is chrysocolla, and that's Chryssocolla. And it's a beautiful green and blue marbled kind of stone that's got kind of like a little bit of gold fleck and a little bit of black in with it. They're beautiful stones. And they're really good for increasing psychic ability, but they're also great for helping you heal for deep traumatic, emotionally traumatic things, okay? Or things like post-traumatic stress. Awesome, awesome, awesome stones for that. Calcite is another one. Carnelian, that really encourages you to trust your intuition, okay? To make you listen to that little voice back here. Emeralds are great. Moonstone is fantastic. It's another one of my favorite ones. And then celestite. is the last one. Now, there are herbs and resins to help you increase psychic ability. Anise is one, star anise that had very licorice tasting. And this is great for raising your vibration to, a higher level, to be at that psychic level. And it's great for astral protection. And anise is pretty good, like if you add it in with a tea and drink the tea. Awesome. Cinnamon is another one. Cedar, like a cedar tree, that's great. Hey, celery is great to help enhance your psychic ability. Honeysuckle, especially honeysuckle, is great when it's in bloom. I've got huge honeysuckle bushes right behind my house, and I go back there and I will pick honeysuckle blossoms off and dry them, because it's great for increasing your clairvoyance. Lemongrass is another one. Lilacs are wonderful for you to do like past life regression, to discover, your past lives that you've gone through, and for clairvoyance. Lotus flowers and lotus pods are great. Mugwort is again great for help you to protect, but it's also great for increasing clairvoyance. And the final one is sandalwood. So with that, guys, I know this was, a lot to digest at one time. On my other channel, The Witch's Cauldron, and I will link it in the description box of this video. I am planning on starting an online class for enhancing your psychic ability, probably in November-ish sometime. I am currently teaching Wicca 101, but I am going to do a class on protection and enhancing your psychic ability. Okay? So with that said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe before you leave. Twitter and everything is in the description box. And you know what I always say, guys, until we meet again, be well and go in love and light. Bye.